Hey everybody, IcyCat here once again. With last week's big announcement that the release date was getting pushed back to December, the big question, of course, is what are they doing with that extra time? It's officially been stated that they're working on co-op across all modes, weapon and gadget balancing, and menu and interface improvements. But some of that could have easily been addressed post-launch in a patch. I think everyone realizes they're working on more than just that, but what else could be happening behind the scenes? Since anything outside of what they've officially stated is really just guessing, or even wishing, I wanted to go ahead and make a video that does pretty much just that. Putting together a few concepts that either could really be possible, or maybe aren't possible, but would be cool to see in a kind of top 10 wish list for Siege. We'll start with one that isn't maybe as far-fetched as it sounds. A dynamic weather system. Number 1. The Anvil Next engine is known for handling great dynamic weather systems already in the Assassin's Creed games. From storms to calm or wind and snow, the engine that powers Siege is already very capable of handling these kinds of systems. It would also be right at home with Siege Generator's ability to mix and match random values to give you missions to play on if it could randomly assign values like sunny, overcast, rain, gusty wind with blowing leaves and papers, crashing thunder and lightning storms, or even snow on appropriate maps. Some of these weather conditions would be more than just visually different on the map's exterior. Flashing lighting coming through the windows and open doorways would be a great effect, and since Siege uses dynamic lighting, you could have all the lights in the map flicker very subtly whenever this happened. If you look closely, this already happens to nearby light sources when a breaching charge goes off nearby. Loud, booming thunder or especially noisy wind gusts could provide sound masking to cover for the sound of a sprinting operator or a melee bash to a destructible surface. Things like thick fog and swirling snow or heavy rain could also allow the attackers to advance to the structure from spawn positions with partial concealment, making it harder to pick them off from windows on the approach. A solid weather system could actually add a layer of tactical variation to maps and be more than simply visual set dressing. Number 2. Another thing might be a dynamic time of day. Take a look at Hereford Base. This is clearly late afternoon, headed toward sunset. The lighting is softer, the shadows are longer. The color temperature matches more of a setting sun. The mood is different. Anvil Next can already handle full day and night systems. While it wouldn't make any sense to have time of day changes happening in real time over a 5-minute round, what about something more subtle, like over an entire match? Round 1 could be in the morning, round 2 at noon, round 3 in the afternoon, round 4 at sunset, and round 5 and above could just be at night. Or even if the time of day was randomized to a certain degree at the start of a given match and stayed consistent throughout. Number 3. We've not heard much about mission mode other than some minor confirmations of what's already been announced. Lots of comments, especially on the Rainbow Six forums, are wondering about this. It's something that's a very important part of the game to me as well, so I hope the extra time is spent polishing this mode of play as much as possible. One interesting clue is that part of the official reasoning for the delay was to work on co-op across all modes. We know missions are confirmed to be playable cooperatively as well as solo, so this could be a vague nod to that mode as well. Either way, Rainbow has always been playable in multiplayer, co-op, and single player. And although this title was specifically noted to be focused more on multiplayer, it was noted to feature missions that could be played solo, so as much polish as possible put into a mode like this would be welcome. Number 4. Let's talk about Terrorist Hunt. We've all watched the game mode on the consulate map by now, and we know there's almost always a bomb in the corner office, or in the room off the loading dock. There's 2 other possible bomb locations as well. While it's nice that the bombs can spawn in 4 different locations, with 2 of them in play in any one run-through, the locations wind up feeling really predictable due to the crossover. What if we just doubled the number of possible spawn locations for the bomb from 4 to 8? Obviously, this could also apply for the other game modes of hostage rescue or secure area as well. There's going to be parts of most maps that won't get used all that much, especially bigger maps like Consulate. This would give more reason to use the map to a greater degree and explore those other areas. Number 5. Here's a big one. Difficulty modes. Ever since about Vegas 1, all the Tom Clancy games began adopting this normal, hard, realistic difficulty class system. At least in all the previous Splinter Cell and Rainbow Six games I've played over the years. One thing they all share in common is that they don't really have all that much difference between the difficulty modes. I'd always play on realistic to get anything close to approaching an actual difficulty, and even that was easy to try to master relatively quickly. It always feels like in a Tom Clancy game, hard should be normal, realistic should be made a little more difficult so as to replace hard, and then realistic itself should be a whole lot harder than it is now, a true challenge to complete. This shouldn't take the form of just making enemies faster and more accurate while they take less damage and you take more damage. That's sort of the Pac-Man approach to difficulty, and we should be beyond that now. The first time I really had a change in perspective with difficulty settings was in the original GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64. When you made the game harder, it gave you extra objectives to do that weren't enabled in lower settings. What if we did something like normal is disarm the bombs, hard is disarm the bombs and place a tracking bug in a phone or computer, and then realistic was everything from hard plus assassinate a specific target AI somewhere in the level in a given time limit before he escapes. Oh, and also do it with all those ammo refill boxes removed on anything higher than normal, so every shot really counts. Maybe enemy density or AI behaviors are affected by difficulty settings as well, with lower numbers that are more passive in behavior, such as ambushers and engineers, and on the higher difficulty, maybe more roamers and bombers are weighted with heavier numbers. None of it uses the cheap tactics of making your bullets do less damage or causing the AI to be super accurate or twice as fast, which is really just an unfair way of making things harder. Number 6. Here's one that's really kind of easy if they wanted to do it. Go back to the larger blueprint-style maps they used to use so we can actually see the level layout and make use of planning. Right now the focus is on showing the entire map all at once so you can simultaneously see all the exterior spawn points. This makes it so the actual structure you're assaulting is really small by comparison and is kind of useless for pre-launch planning and coordination. The original vision for the game made use of nice large-size blueprint-style maps with clear labels and high visibility. I did a video on what a basic planning system would look like using a simple icon-based system. But even if you didn't implement the planning system, at least having large, useful maps would be better than the tiny, useless ones they have now. Just having the ability to see the map layout in greater detail and with clear labels would go a long way toward getting everyone on the same page. It would also be nice if there was some way you could pull up those maps in-game. It would leave you vulnerable while you pulled it up to the full screen to look at it, and wouldn't be something you'd want to do a whole lot in the heat of battle. But it would be good for new players to learn the maps, and teams that play competitively to have a common reference source so everyone's on the same page while in training. Number 7. An old favorite from previous Rainbow games that would be nice to see make a return would be gimping. This was a mechanic that made sure if you were injured, you would have some realistic wounding effects. Your operative would have a gimpy walk as he was sliding his lame leg and sort of shuffling along at reduced movement speed. And you would actually hear the shuffling audio accompany the new walking animation. Additionally, your accuracy was slightly reduced since massive blood loss and physical trauma make you less likely to have steady aim. Having some kind of wounding effects like these return would be a welcome addition since right now there's no ill effect after having been revived from a DBNO state. Number 8. Another thing that would be of benefit to new players and those training themselves to be better players in general would be an offline private match with bots. By having varying degrees of bot difficulty, inexperienced players, or teams that aren't used to each other that could build coordination by playing with each other in a practice environment could really get that time in on the game. This would also allow players to get more familiar with maps by creating these kinds of training scenarios. Some low-skilled players may find it to be an alternative to actual online PvP if they find themselves frustrated when they're continually dominated. This also gives a viable way to play if you find yourself offline for some reason, like an internet outage. Number 9. I'm sure it was cut for one reason or another, but if that reason was time, then maybe a return of the living hostage concept is possible. You'll remember Olivia from the 2014 E3 demo. She was also a very real element during the Montreal World Premiere gameplay demonstration a few months later. This is something that was at one point already in the game, so there's at least a possibility that with extra time the feature could be brought back. Right now the hostages have been dumbed down to be little more than human-shaped flags to be captured. Gone is the living, breathing hostage character that we saw from before. The detail and elements that went into the living hostage made them someone you wanted to rescue. And right now, hostage rescue needs all the help it can get in that regard. Hostage rescue always comes down to team elimination. Frankly, as an attacker, the only consideration I gave to the hostage was not throw explosives into the objective room. But otherwise, I could have cared less about it. Putting back such a complex and engaging character dynamic like they had last year would be a great way to get that to change. Number 10. For the last item on the wish list, I'd like to see character customization. There's two kinds that this could be. One is more of a cosmetic customization, where you could create your own recruit, choose gender, skin color, hair color, and country of origin, as well as give the character a name. This could be playable in the co-op and campaign missions, or it could be allowed in PvP as a custom recruit as well. This wouldn't really change anything gameplay-wise, but would allow you to make a character feel like your own. The second tier to customization would affect gameplay though, and that's opening up the loadout restrictions. I've never been a fan of having my weapon and gear predetermined for me. It's one of the problems I have with the operator system. If I'm not fast enough to click on the guy I want, I won't have the gun I like or the tools I need. I mean, why not let me pick a custom character where if I want to take frag grenades, I can? If there's a specific gun, regardless of which CTU or class uses it, so what? Even if the argument were to be made that this would be too unbalancing to the PvP experience, there's really no reason not to do it for at least the co-op and single-player side of things. So that's my top 10 list of things to hope for with the extra time being given to the game. Some of it is possible due to the systems and infrastructure already present in the game engine. Some of it's already been part of the game but got cut for one reason or another and could possibly be put back in given the extra time. Some of it is probably a little unrealistic too, but what's the fun of a wish list if you keep it all practical? There's some things I didn't even bother putting on here that would be outright impossible, like doors, that just can't be added in 6 weeks, as it would require a complete redesign and rebalance of everything in the game. Much as I would like to see them, that's not happening. Other things I would put on the list, but I really can't talk about them yet. Still other things, I know the reasons behind the decisions to cut them and I can't reveal those either. So if there's some glaring omissions from the wish list, those are just some of the reasons why they might not be on here. What about you? What would you change, add, or remove given the extra time the game is being given? Share in the comments below, or come on over to the forums or subreddit and discuss it with our growing community. If you want to stay up to date on all the latest info with Siege, please like and subscribe for more weekly content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.